Now, I'm sure absolutely everyone has forgotten about that fairly nightmarish first half against Southampton at the weekend, because in the end, Liverpool, of course, got the win, and the weekend ended with them 15 points clear in the Premier League. But the other reason it's been pretty easy to put that to the back of your minds is because Liverpool, of course, have other things to focus on this week, and it is this huge Champions League last 16 second leg against PSG coming up on Tuesday evening. Huge one to look forward to. Really exciting game. And I've just been here at open training at the AXA Training Centre to see Arne Slot and his squad and see how they're shaping up. And I'll start, as I usually do, with the team news from that, and it is big team news. I think Cody Gakpo, who of course has been missing recently with an injury, is back involved in the training session. We only get the first 15 minutes or so, but it looks to me like he's going to be involved in the full session, and I think that's a real boost for Liverpool. Of course, he had that foot injury that kept him out for a couple of games, came back, and then he blocked a shot in training that kind of re-injured him really, and so he's missed the last couple of games again, and he's been very close on a couple of occasions to coming back into the squad. Arne Slot continually using the phrase that it's a close call on him, but he is back now finally and involved in training, and I would expect that he would be in the Liverpool squad to face PSG tomorrow. And I do think that is important for Liverpool, because I think he was a miss in the first leg for me, actually, because I think one thing he does give you is the ability to hit long diagonals to the far side and get you up the pitch. He's got that huge physicality, hasn't he, that maybe Diaz lacks when he's on that left-hand side. And sometimes you can just take the easy option of a big long diagonal ball, as I say, and he can compete for that, and maybe you can work from there. And you saw the difference actually that Darwin Núñez made when he came onto the pitch in terms of giving Liverpool that out ball. Cody Gakpo could have been that on the left-hand side, but of course he was missing through injury. Now, it'd be interesting to see how long he's actually able to do. I wouldn't imagine that he'd go straight into the starting 11, of course. Maybe he only gives you 30 minutes at the end of the game, but even so, that is a big boost, because Cody Gakpo, as I say, got that physicality that will help Liverpool get out, maybe can help them get out when they're trying to protect a lead as well. And also, of course, he's been the second biggest goal threat behind Mo Salah this season, so you miss a player like that, there's no question about it. Now, in terms of who else was involved in the training, fortunately no other absentees that we could spot, which is of course is great news. The only two who missed out were Conor Bradley and Joe Gomez, which of course we expected. Interestingly, I did see Joe Gomez in the gym going through some work. We could just see him through the window, so he looks like he's working on things and getting there, but of course he is still a long way off, and similarly with Conor Bradley as well. We didn't expect him to be involved with this, but the good news I think for both, with them being long-term absentees, is they do have that international break coming up. They can just work on the fitness through that. They're not missing any games, and we'll have to see. Obviously Joe Gomez we expect closer towards the end of the season for his return, but in terms of Conor Bradley, could he be back after that international break? That would certainly be a boost, because of course Liverpool no cover at right back at the moment. Jarell Quansah being asked to do bits and bobs there if possible, but it's not his natural role, is it? So if Liverpool could get some cover for Trent Alexander-Arnold back soon, that would make you feel a lot more comfortable about the running and the workload that he would have. And in terms of who else was involved in the training session today, I always think it's noteworthy that there's always youngsters involved. The two of those, Rio Ngamoa and James McConnell, today it's quite clear that they are amongst the youngsters that Arne Slot really likes. And I spoke actually in the last video I did, or it was actually the last press conference that I covered from Arne Slot, and he spoke about squad size and what he prefers to use, and spoke about 14 to 15 players usually as his core group. And I think it's interesting. I said, after that press conference, that I felt that maybe he's, nudging towards maybe holding a smaller squad next season, and that would be his aim, a smaller core of players he truly trusts. So a little bit more rotation than we've seen this season, but that core would actually be smaller. And I wonder if the reason behind that, and the thinking there, would be that the squad composition then, it would move the likes of Ngamoa, Trey Ione a little bit closer to first team contention, so that they would be kind of the first cab off the rank in terms of rotation, and whether they would just play a slightly bigger role, because you have to go a long way down, don't you? I mean, Ngamoa, for example, he's almost Liverpool's 7th choice attacker at the moment. Trey Ione maybe the 7th choice midfielder as well, so it's a long way back. But they are youngsters that Liverpool have got an awful lot of faith in, and they want them to play big roles in the future. And of course, to do that, to fill their potential, they have to get minutes on the pitch, and that is even in a season where Liverpool have gone deep in most competitions, has been a little bit of a struggle for them. So be interesting to see if that is part of the plan. I am of course just thinking out loud there, but it is just an interesting note that they are so heavily involved in first team training this season and yet haven't seen an awful lot of minutes. Maybe that could be slightly different in terms of the squad composition for next season. But of course, all this is a long way off the summer and all the plans that Liverpool have got to make. They are just still being put in place. Of course, the focus now on the short term is on tomorrow's game, and for me, I think it's a really interesting team selection, of course, that is coming up for Arne Slot for this one. Obviously, it was a 1-0 win out in Paris, but you would have to say, given the fact that PSG took 27 shots to Liverpool's 2, that the tactical plan didn't really work as much as Liverpool were maybe improved defensively in the second half. They'll want to play so much better in this second leg, won't they? And I think the way that they go about that is going to be interesting. Does Slot really mix it up in terms of his selection? Does he change the shape, or is it just about who he selects in that starting lineup? So for example, does he go with that 4-4-2 where you've got Curtis Jones on the left hand side and Luis Diaz and Dominic Szoboszlai as kind of false nines? Is that the way he goes about it and try and control the game as they did maybe against Manchester City away from home when they had a lead there? Or is it as simple as going for someone like Darwin Núñez in instead of Jota? You know, you saw in the second part of that game in Paris really the importance of having a focal point and matching. They go for that man-to-man defending, don't they? Just having someone physical who can cause chaos there. I thought Darwin Núñez really kind of put forward a case really to start in this game, so it's absolutely fascinating really to see what he does in terms of that decision. As I say, is it just a change of personnel and you hope Anfield will do the rest, or is it a case that you tweak the system? I'm really interested to see. Interestingly, Diogo Jota is the man who's doing the press conference later. Does that give us any hints? It did used to be the case under Jurgen Klopp that whoever would do the press conference generally would start the game that would follow, but it hasn't been the case this season. We did see Endo, I think, ahead of the PSG first leg, and of course he didn't start in that game, so I don't think that gives us any hints, but I think that's an interesting selection decision that the manager's got to make, and I honestly can't really call. You know, we had so many years of Jurgen and you kind of felt you got to know what he would like his team to look like, but Arne Slot, it's still a little bit new, it's still difficult to guess, and I felt like even here really at the training ground, not many people felt like they could call what he was going to do. And for me, you know, maybe this is the biggest selection actually of his Liverpool career so far, and it's a very hard one to second guess. And as I say, nobody at the training ground seems to have a sense of what he's going to go to, so it will be a fascinating one. I think one thing that people here did have a sense of actually, and one thing I think has maybe filtered back to the football staff here as well, is the feeling that some of the talk that's been coming from PSG and from Paris, the Parisian press, in the build up to this game. I mean, you may have seen some of this, the talk that maybe Bayern and Arsenal, there's a feeling within PSG that both Bayern and Arsenal were superior teams to Liverpool, and also Luis Enrique coming straight out and saying we will win the second leg at Anfield. I do think some of that has filtered through to Liverpool. It's maybe stuff that you can pin on the dressing room wall tomorrow and use that as motivation, because PSG do seem extremely confident coming into this one, but we all know Anfield is a game changer for Liverpool, and they will be much better, I expect, in the second leg. I think Anfield will make Liverpool better. I think it will make PSG worse, and I think we'll see a completely different game and a better Liverpool, as I say, and I think one that can win this game. And of course, if they do that, they know they will 100% be going through to the next round. So very much looking forward to seeing how they get on, and maybe those PSG words coming back to haunt them, but we'll see. Of course, I'm really looking forward to this game. I think either way, no matter what happens in the match, I think it's going to be a cracker. Two great teams, as we saw in the first leg, and I think it's going to be a slightly more even contest this time around, hopefully with Liverpool coming out on top. And of course, I will, as ever, be at Anfield to do my post-match review, so very much looking forward to it, and feeling very privileged, of course, to be at a big Champions League night like that. So I'm going to wrap it up anyway. Do let me know in the comments what you'd like to see the selection for tomorrow night. As I said, I think it's the biggest one of Arne Slot's time at Liverpool so far, and a very difficult one to call, so do let me know yours. And as usual, if you can like, if you can subscribe, we're heading towards 30,000 subscribers now, so if you can get me over the line, tell all your friends about this channel, then it's massively appreciated. And I'll wrap it up there, and I'll see you guys at Anfield tomorrow.